Hey everybody, Andy Kvernen here with another Cornerstone Connection daily devotional. You know, I'm a fairly verbose guy. I like to talk. I like to engage in conversation. And if we're talking, I like to try to make an argument for what I'm thinking about. And I don't mean to be argumentative. I don't think I usually am. Sometimes I am. But I love thinking through things and saying, okay, is this really what we believe? Or is there more to the story? Now, when I think about that, it also comes into conflict with often what we read throughout Scripture, like in James, when it says, be quick to listen, be slow to speak, be slow to anger. There's this theme taught throughout Scripture that says, hey, be careful with your words, and sometimes it's best not to speak at all. I noticed this morning as I was reading through the gospel narrative of Mark, and I came to Mark 15, where Jesus is under trial and he's preparing to go to the cross, that Jesus has an opportunity to speak, and yet he doesn't. And I want us to read the passage where this is the case, and then I want us to ask the question, why does he not speak in this moment? When is it time not to speak? And so listen to this, Mark 15, verses 1 through 5. It says, very early in the morning, the chief priests with the elders, the teachers of the law, and the whole Sanhedrin made their plans. And so they bound Jesus, and they led him away and handed him over to Pilate. Of course, Pilate is the Roman magistrate there in Jerusalem, responsible for issues of crucifixion. And that's where these people, these religious leaders, are wanting this trial to head. And so Pilate asked him, are you the king of the Jews? You have said so, Jesus replied. The chief priests accused him of many things. So again, Pilate asked him, aren't you going to answer? See how many things they're accusing you of. Here's an opportunity. These priests, these members of the Sanhedrin, the religious establishment, they're accusing Jesus falsely of all kinds of garbage. And I don't know about you, but my inclination when I'm falsely accused is to say, no way, man, let me show you. You're wrong, and here's why. And of course, this would make sense from a human perspective. We tend to defend ourselves. But notice what Jesus does here. It says, but Jesus still made no reply, and Pilate was amazed. When is it time not to speak? Well, what's going on here in this narrative? Jesus is moving towards the cross. He knows the mission to which God has called him, and it's time to fulfill that mission, to do the work that God had sent him to do, to sacrifice himself in order to save humanity from their sins. Jesus knows where he's going. He knows what's to come. The path forward is clear. And so it's clear for him that if he would speak in this moment, he's really good at winning arguments. He won them all the time with the Pharisees and the members of the religious establishment. He could win an argument. He could have gotten out of going to the cross. And yet he knew that this was the Father's will. And so he chose not to speak. Friends, I wonder, when you're in a conversation, maybe with your spouse, your husband, or your wife, there's that moment when you know you could speak in order to win the argument, but God is calling you to sacrifice yourself for that other person. That's when it's time not to speak. When it's clear that the only thing that would be accomplished in speaking would be to put down your spouse and to elevate your own status, your own sense of propriety or well-being, your own pride maybe. That's the time not to speak. When else is it time not to speak? Well, in those times when you have a clear opportunity to act sacrificially towards somebody else. And again, it might be your spouse, it might be your kids, it might be an employee, or even your boss. And it's clear this is an opportunity to represent Jesus. And by not speaking, I can sacrifice myself for the good of somebody else, for the glory of Jesus. That's a time not to speak. Friends, you fill in the blanks. But I wonder today, as you're processing your own walk with Jesus, the thing that Jesus did for you, Jesus chose not to speak in order to sacrifice himself for you and for me. When we consider that, let's look for opportunities not to speak for the glory of Jesus, for the benefit of others. Let's sacrifice our words even for God's glory today. God bless you, friends, and we'll see you again on the Cornerstone Connection.